Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian McCollum, and I am here today at CZ in Uherski Brod by the generous invitation of the CZ factory to take a look at some of the cool, interesting, rare, and unusual firearms that they have in their factory reference collection. And what we have today is it's either a CZ50 or a CZ70. It's a little hard to say because it has no markings and features of both patterns. The 50 and 70 were, by the way, essentially the same pistol, just with a little bit of a facelift for the 70 designation. At any rate, what makes this one interesting is that it is set up to use a suppressor. Now, unfortunately, we don't have the actual suppressor, but we can take a look at all of the other mechanical changes that were made around the use of a suppressor. So there are a couple things that you would typically want with a covert suppressed pistol. Of course, you want to minimize the amount of noise, and one of the noisiest parts on a small caliber pistol like this is actually the sound of the slide snapping back and forth. And so you will find on a lot of military or sort of covert use suppressed pistols some way to lock the slide in place to prevent having that sort of noise. And we have exactly such a feature here, and it's actually kind of a cleverly implemented one, which at the same time is also used to give it suppressor height sights. So let's take a closer look at that. Just for the sake of comparison, here's a standard CZ70, and here's our suppressed gun. I mentioned that it had a mixture of features. Well, it has a CZ70 style of hammer, it has a CZ70 style of disassembly button, but we have a CZ50 grip on this. These both actually have CZ50 magazines, but the magazines are interchangeable between the two patterns. So sort of a hybrid pattern. It's unclear exactly what guns they were using to make these suppressed ones. We have a serial number here that also puts this into CZ70 territory, but almost no other marks. In fact, it's interesting that this marking has been obliterated. This originally would have been the CZ factory logo, and it's been removed. In theory, like, we see this thing typically as a way to anonymize pistols. Now, it's a little difficult to understand why such a thing would be bothered with. It's not exactly difficult to know exactly what pattern of pistol this is, but they went ahead and did that. So normally we would expect to see a proof mark and some slide markings on the left side. And our suppressed pistol here has the proof mark on the trigger guard, but none of the actual slide markings. All right, now the interesting part, of course, is this big blocky fin on top of the gun. So first off, that fin has elevated our sights up above the level of the barrel. So you've got essentially your standard sight picture there, but it's high enough that it would get above a fairly large suppressor here. The barrel has been extended, and it has a set of interrupted threads on it. So real good and quick attachment method for the suppressor. The CZ70 and 50 are fixed barrel pistols, so you don't have to worry about the suppressor impeding operation of the gun. And if you want to lock the slide closed, well, all you have to do is actually fix the slide to the barrel, because the barrel is fixed in place and doesn't move. So you can see this little notch that has been cut in the barrel right here. We have a spring-loaded plunger up here. Now, this is currently set up so that the gun will operate as normal. Now, if I take this threaded screw here and unscrew it a bit, what I can do is release this spring-loaded plunger. Now, in the downward position, it has locked the slide to the barrel and prevents the pistol from functioning. So you can fire your one shot and not have any slide noise and not have an empty cartridge case eject. You do, of course, then want to be able to manually cycle the pistol in case you want to fire again. You can do that by just manually pushing down on this lever when you cycle the pistol. So I can push that down, run the slide, eject the empty case, chamber a new one, and as soon as I let go of this button, this lever, the slide is locked back in place again. Then, if I decide that I want the pistol to function semi-auto, I just push this down, screw the plug in, and it will lock the lever in the disconnected position. So really a pretty clever set of modifications. I can show you that from the inside. We push our disassembly lever. This one's a little tight to take apart. There we go. So there is the notch cut in the barrel, and you can see the plunger back here. There we go. So there's the plunger engaged and disengaged. Unfortunately, I have no idea, and nor does anyone here at CZ, exactly how many of these were made or who they were exactly made for. This was, of course, during the communist government in Czechoslovakia, so any number of potential organizations that might have been interested in getting suppressed, sneaky pistols. And you see this sort of thing, frankly, you see this sort of thing everywhere during the Cold War. But this is not just a one-off. There is, in fact, another example of this in the Police Museum in Prague. So they made at least a couple, opted not to mark them, and I think it's a really actually quite clever modification of this design to fit a suppressor. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. A big thanks to CZ for giving me access to the pistol. Check out the description text below if you're interested in this sort of thing. I have links to all of CZ's social media where they post all sorts of stuff like this on a regular basis, as well as the stuff that they are currently producing. Thanks for watching.